I gotta say, this is a tough read for me. Let me know what you guys think. Long time reader, first time poster. Apologies in advance. This will be lengthy. I, 47 male, have been married to my wife, she's 49, for 16 years. We have one child together, 12. To give you an idea of the dynamic, I work full time. My wife works part time from home. Remember that phrase, part time from home. I do 90% of the cooking, 100% of the washing up. I make our child school lunch every day, do all the grocery shopping and meal planning, and organize and take our child to appointments. Something is off here. My wife doesn't drive, so I do all the driving whenever we need to go somewhere. My wife largely takes care of the family finances, paying bills online, etc. Is that all she does? That doesn't require much effort. We rent where we live, and I handle all the contact with the landlord. I suffer from clinical depression and anxiety, for which I take medication and see a psychologist. My wife also has anxiety issues relating to PTSD from a serious car crash she was in roughly 20 years ago. My depression had been bad over the last few years, starting when my father died of cancer in 2019. After that, there was COVID. I got bullied out of a long term job during COVID lockdown. My mother also got cancer. She survived. I had to change jobs every year for a couple of years before finally landing a permanent role in 2023. I admit that during the darkest times, I wasn't an especially good husband, was very detached, and had pretty much checked out of life. I started on a new antidepressant medication in February of this year to try and do better and be better for my family. Our bedroom has been dead for a few years now. Guys, I don't know about you, I wouldn't be with a woman if our bedroom life was dead. If she isn't sleeping with you, then something else is going on. Listen, women enjoy sex just as much as men, if not more than men. If she's not having sex, period, that means she has some major medical issues going on. In March, I discovered that she was having an emotional affair with at least one man, possibly two, and had been looking to make it a physical affair. I had the feeling that something was up for a while, but could never substantiate it. I kept trying to tell myself that I was being ridiculous, tried to ignore it, but the feeling wouldn't go away. Men, stop dismissing the signs your gut tells you something is off. Stop doing it. One day, I saw what looked like a journal on her desk, which is in our child's bedroom. We live in a very small unit. Curiosity overcame me, and I read it, hoping, if nothing else, to gain some insight into what was going on with her. Among other things, throughout the journal, I found a consistent chronicle of what looked very much like a romantic relationship she was having with an old friend from her university days, with whom she had a brief fling with many years before she and I met. In the journal, there were frequent expressions of how much care, honesty, and love there was between her and him. There were detailed descriptions of explicit sexual conversations they had and frequent expressions of intense lust and desire for him. Wow. There were clear expressions of her intention to have sex with him as soon as the opportunity arose, and indications that she was actively going out and looking for places and opportunities for that to happen. I also noticed that my name hardly appeared anywhere in the journal at all, and when it did, it was almost never in a positive light. In fact, I was dismayed to find that she said some pretty unkind things about me in what she'd written. Some examples. She talked about trying not to laugh when I confided in her about my depression symptoms and my decision to go on medication. She referred to me as an absolute zombie when I was adjusting to the antidepressants and had to log off from work early one day. She seemed more concerned that I might be hanging around the next day. She called me an ego-driven and self-centered creature. Wow. Other things I learned from the journal. She keeps a separate secret phone, which she used to maintain contact with at least two men, whom she identified as J and A. There were some indications that there may have been others, but J was the main focus. She sent Jay a picture and a message on Valentine's Day, but did absolutely nothing for me. In fairness, we don't really do Valentine's Day. We never make a big deal about it, but I always get her something. This year, I wrote her a card and gave her some of her favorite chocolates. In her journal, she wrote, "I don't know why he persists." That's crazy. That's got to be heartbreaking. There was no evidence of her being in any way conflicted about it, no doubts or remorse. If she ever felt any guilt, she never expressed it. She referred to herself as an uninhibited free spirit. She bought a new necklace for the sole purpose of wearing it when they have sex, as she wanted something that was just for them and untainted by anything else. As far as I could tell from what she wrote, she never actually managed to connect with Jay in person, apart from one time when their friendship group caught up a couple of years ago. He put his hand up her skirt under the table. They shared a brief kiss afterward and regretted not doing more. You see why this is a tough read for me? I can relate. Getting torn down by your wife to another man. That's why I am so hard on these men. I was a simp at one time, so I know. But I evolved. I am no longer a simp. But there was, or at least looked like there was, every intention of progressing to a physical affair, and at least some effort was made to make that happen. But for various reasons, it seemed that the stars did not align. This plunged my mind into chaos, and it was a while before I could collect my thoughts to react. Added to that, at the time when I found the journal, a very close family friend of ours had just died, and my wife was very upset about it. So, there was no way I was confronting her with this while she was grieving. As soon as I felt able, roughly 1 month into taking my new medication, I went and basically poured my heart out to her, told her how much I love her, want her, and need her. I told her I knew that my depression had been bad, and I was only just seeing how disconnected I had been. I told her I was committed to doing better and making things right. There was a lot of hugging. She kissed me, looked me in the eyes, and promised that she loved me. But then later in her journal, she wrote that I had dumped everything on her. I don't know what he expects me to say or do. I should say here that I feel completely terrible about invading her privacy and reading her journal. Believe me, a big part of me wishes I'd never seen it. Eventually, I confronted her about it, apologized for invading her privacy, and said that I knew about Jay and that we needed to talk. Her response, "I don't have to justify myself to you." Pretty sure if she read a journal of mine that says stuff like that about another woman, she wouldn't believe me if I told her it was just fantasy, and she would probably be just as mad about it if she did believe me. Yep, exactly. Anyway, she was more mad about the fact that I read her stuff and acted like I'd taken something from her, that writing in the journal was therapy, and she now couldn't do it anymore because of me. Oh, of course you can. You just hide the damn journal where he will never find it again. I'm thinking, sure you can. Just don't keep a chronicle of your extramarital sex life on a desk in your kids' bedroom where anybody could find it. She also blamed me for having checked out of our marriage. Basically, she lied to me and gaslit me about what I'd found and the meaning of it all. She made it sound like I was the guilty one and the only one who had work to do in the relationship. I asked her what she wanted and needed in our relationship. She just said she wanted me to listen more. She didn't ask me what I wanted or needed. Does that sound like a narcissist? Maybe. I subsequently wrote a heartfelt note telling her exactly what I wanted and needed, but she never even acknowledged it until I asked her about it directly days later. I was stuck. I expected this big watershed moment, and I got nothing. She had burned all her journals after I told her that I read them. I understood she did this routinely anyway, and despite looking, I never found her extra phone, which undoubtedly would have been the smoking gun. Case not proven. Court adjourned. I thought it would be D-Day, but things just sort of went back to normal instead. Fast forward to today, things have been noticeably better between us. There are fewer arguments, and she seems happier and calmer in general, and has been kinder and more supportive. I want to trust these actions. I want to put my faith in us and believe that we're moving forward. But how can I when I feel like this was never fully resolved? When I've seen the stark contrast between what she would say to my face and the unfiltered and uncensored thoughts she put in her journal, What would you do in my place? Well, guys, what would you have done? I wouldn't stay in a relationship for the simple fact that this woman tore him down while he was struggling mentally. But people will say, well, she had PTSD too, but her PTSD didn't stop her from cheating. This man was basically doing everything and had a full-time job away from home. She had a part-time job at home. Let me repeat that, at home. Why wasn't she cooking more? Why wasn't she doing more? This is how most men act outside of YouTube. A lot of people in the red pill space, a lot of channels think we men hate women. We don't want anything to do with women. That's not true. We love women, but we have to pay attention more and protect ourselves for what women are doing to us. That's all. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Until next time.